Welcome to All Things Equal. I'm Holly Burrow. Today, we're focusing on the support systems that ESOs themselves need to thrive. Who's out there helping the helpers? Behind every successful entrepreneurial ecosystem are the ESOs working hard to build programs, secure resources, and navigate the challenges of entrepreneur support. In this episode, we'll talk candidly about the tools, funding, and collaboration that ESOs need to be truly functional, sustainable, and impactful. Let's dig in.
Welcome to today's session with Tanya, and I will give Tanya an opportunity to introduce herself and tell us about the work that she's been doing in her community.
Good afternoon, Holly. This is Tanya Morris from Mom Your Business, located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Mom Your Business supports Black and brown female entrepreneurs primarily. We just came off a very successful garden party pitch competition that we had outside at the Belmont Mansion. We gave away $20,000 to the grand prize winner. And she's getting some additional supportive services, which I'll talk about later as we continue to have this conversation, that we're going to continue to support her. But I'm just grateful because all of those that participated all said that it was a great experience. They've been connecting with each other. And, that's what we like to do. We've also used a platform called Raisify. We used as a part of that, where folks got to vote with their dollars for the Audience Choice Award. And so starting with as low as $5, you could vote for one of the other participants. And so
oh my God, I love that so much.
Yeah, that was really effective. I'm looking forward to using that again. And so a young man came in, won that one. He had, and ironically, here's the beauty of that platform is that Antonio had the most votes, but Taisha raised the most money. So what the data tells us is that while he had the most votes, Taisha, Brown Girl Candle Cafe, actually had people that gave the most money.
Which, if we're honing in on what business really is will people pay for what you're selling? Right. If we're being honest, there's we all love to be excited and rah, and you can do it and go get it, go do it. But in reality, I think sometimes that gets missed because we get all excited about cheering people on. And the reality is, are people going to pay for what you're selling? Otherwise, this might not be a business. So I kind of love that gave you the data to back that up.
Yeah, absolutely, to back that up. And so we gave her, because we matched whatever they raised. So we gave Antonio $2,000 because he had the most votes, and we gave Taisha $1,000 because she raised the most money. So it was a really good experience. And then everybody that participated, we had 9 finalists. All of them raised something, and I like the idea of everybody going home with something.
Well, and I think you're also coupling that with giving them the skills to do that raise piece of it. You've fostered a space where now they feel brave enough to go out into the world and say, I'm doing a thing, will you support me? Which as well as I do, that is one of the hardest parts of starting a business, is getting over that fear of putting it out into the world. It's like, holding your naked baby above your head and saying, do you think this is pretty? That's the hardest part. So I love that that's a big piece of how you're approaching that process. So tell me about how you've evolved to that. Cause I share with you as well as us, like the programs that we've built and the things that we've done. It's not now what it once was. How have you gotten to that place where you figured out what are the pieces that are working, and what are some of the things that you've shed along the way where you're like, this just isn't working for the founders that we're serving?
Yeah, so the thing is that I'm an alumni of Black Girl Ventures, who created the Raisify platform. So I've known about the platform for some time. And so we do an annual pitch competition at least once a year for a significant amount of money, right? And so this year I just thought was a good opportunity because we were doing something really different, really unique, and that we were going outside under the tent at a really cool space and being able to make the best use of the whole thing One thing, I'm a big proponent of not having too many judges. Like I've been to some places and I've seen people have 5, 6 judges. I'm like, yo, man, come on, man, y'all gonna cause these people to be confused more than you really are giving adding value. So this year was the first time though that I had 4. Normally I go with 3, but I did have 4 this year. But they worked really well. A couple folks that work with a couple of our programs. The other thing was that I got rid of, Holly, was the deck.
And we've done that too.
We
I
did the
yes.
90-second. We did the 90-second. We did the 90-second pitch. Like, and what I did was we always do pitch coaching as a part of what we're doing, and so we did do that. We have a founder here who's a colleague of mine who was has been on television, who's been had some successful raises, and so she came, she talked with them around their pitches, and she told them a story about how one pitch competition they had told them initially that they were going to have 3 minutes, and came back and told them that they were changing it before they aired. They were going from 3 minutes to 90 seconds. And she told us right on. I was watching her live on Instagram, and I'm going, "Oh my God, no, they didn't." But yes, they did.
Well, and we've had we've had kind of a bumpy road, because we build programs for ESOs and we help them and support them in doing that. And we, from the very beginning, because a lot of the small business owners that we end up supporting through the work we're doing, having a deck is not the first thing they need. The first thing they need is to be able to talk about their business. How do I walk up to somebody at a happy hour, and in the like minimal amount of time I have to share with them what we do, how do I land that and get them to say, let's grab coffee next week? I don't need a deck at that point. Like, that's not.
Yes.
So we've been championing getting rid of that piece of it, because it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily fit with every founder's needs.
Yeah.
But every founder has to be able to talk about what they're doing. So I deeply applaud that, and that's
Yeah.
something that we've been trying to do for a long time. So
Yeah,
what are
I hadn't really thought about it. And another thing as we're talking, what I'm thinking is that the deck is really about the investment, right? When you're at that point, when you're actually ready for an investment, and you need to talk about those 9 things, right? Yourself, your business revenue model, your audience, your competition, all of those things, your team, what you're going to use the fund for. That's when you're at that point when you're ready to. So, a lot of ways, I feel like we've been teaching this thing kind of backwards.
yes,
And you
yes,
hit the nail on
yes,
the head. You hit the nail on the head. You need to be able, and this is what we started doing, was like,
yes.
you need to be able to tell the story of your business.
In a way that somebody that isn't part of your industry can actually understand, because
Yes.
that's that missing gap. It's because founders are, I'll put myself, and you're in the same bucket too, is like, we're so in our heads about the thing that we're building, we leave out pieces accidentally because it's so baked into how we're thinking. We just don't learn how to share that externally. So giving them that ability to go out, share it with somebody that's in a completely different field, that's never heard of what they're doing, that doesn't serve the same audience, and actually land it so that they're mentally thinking, oh my God, who can I connect this person to? Even if it isn't the person you're standing talking to, the person you're talking to should be thinking, oh my God, I need to connect them with my cousin Joe. I need to connect them with so and so, because your messaging is landing so deeply that they're like, I know just who you need to talk to. Like,
Yes.
and if you're not hitting
Yes.
that nail on the head, you're kind of missing it. Like,
Yes,
that's
you're kind of missing the mark. You're missing the
yeah,
mark, absolutely.
yeah,
And so that was really, I made that decision going into this year as we prepped for the pitch competition that, no decks. First of all, it
yeah.
takes too damn long.
It's so well, and they get so distracted by, like, what we kept finding is that the business owners were so distracted by building the deck, they missed everything else. Everything else. They were not paying attention to what was being taught. They weren't working on their financials. They weren't doing any of the things that actually equal business.
Don't
They
know the
just wanted
numbers,
to
all
build
of
the
it.
deck.
Like, yep. So I'm like, and then at a pitch competition, it just takes too long. Like, people ain't trying to be there all night. I've been to some places like, get me out of here. Like, it's just,
Oh, oh yes, I have sat through many, many, many a pitch competition where I am like, I have been here for 3 hours. I want to go home.
To go home. And then I gotta sit through four and five, six judges with feedback. No, get me out of here. So
Well,
that was
yeah,
the
wrap
other
wrap it
that was
up,
the other
folks. Wrap
reason.
it up.
Let's wrap it up, folks. So that was the other reason why we did that differently. The other thing we introduced this year, we've been doing since the new year came in, and I think it was on the hinge of the new administration coming in. We started doing a Black Business Mixer, and so we brought in. We have a DJ. We have pop ups, so each one of our vendors can come and sell their stuff. We do a pop up pitch as a part of that. And sometimes I give away money, sometimes I don't. Depends on how I'm feeling.
Sure, sure. No, I totally get that. I totally get that. Well, and if people expect it, they behave differently. If it's a surprise, that's.
Yes. Like I thought she was giving away some money. Like, yeah, not tonight. Well, not
Not
tonight.
tonight, but
But
come again next week. We'll
come
talk.
again next month. You never know what might happen. And they've been going really well. And so for July and August, since we don't have our own space, we're doing them pop ups.
Yeah.
So we're going to two locations that we're going to go to for July and August, and probably September too. We're going to go to two separate locations. If we're not, I'm hoping that we'll be in our own space by August, September at the latest. So that has also gone really well. We also have two new programs that we rolled out this year. Really, kind of a migration of the one program that we had when we started in 2021. We had our very first accelerator, and I tell this story because it really changed the way Mommy Business was operating. I was talking to Shelly or Omi Bell, who's the founder of Black Growth Ventures, and I was telling her, I said, I think I want to start a business accelerator program. And she asked me, well, where do you want to accelerate people to?
Oh, I
And
like
so that question really changed the trajectory of Mom Your Business in many ways because the whole time we were on lockdown, all I did was study business accelerators, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All I did was really study them, what was working, what was culturally relevant to the audience that I was serving, all of those kinds of things. And what I realized was that Black women didn't really have an accelerator that was accelerating them towards being bankable, where people saw them as a bankable, legitimate venture that they could invest in. And so that was our Founders to Funders program. And then from that, what we learned when we did that a couple of years, we were funded by Truist. We did that for a couple of years. We did 4 cohorts of that. Since 2021, we've helped founders raise a little over $500,000 in capital through pitch competitions, low interest loans. We've done some equity investments as well. But what we learned from that was that those businesses weren't growing after they got that initial investment or that initial win. What was next? Well, and we realized that they needed executive level support, but couldn't afford it
Yep.
or didn't know where to find it. And that's when we started our fractional program that we rolled out this year that's funded by JP Morgan Chase.
I love that. I love that. We've been partnering with communities and organizations like your own to run a program that we call Success Sprint. And it's all technical assistance. It's 100% technical assistance, no cohort, no group activities. It's all one-on-one. And we've had some really phenomenal results. It sounds like it's kind of mirror image of your fractional idea of like giving access to those founders that don't organically have access to experts that can help them move the needle on their specific goals. Because
Yeah.
what we kept seeing is we kept working with these organizations that were running cohort-based programming, which by all means there is value in connecting founders to one another and all of that. There's deep value in it. But at some point, you have to start to understand that these people are building businesses. We need to be considering their schedules, not forcing them to accommodate ours.
Say that.
And, exactly. And so we came up with this idea that's all technical assistance or coaching, depending on what you want to call it. But it's all one-on-one and it's very goal-based. So it's meant to, like, you sit down with the founder and you set goals, and then they have 90-day sprints that are covered by the organization that we're partnering with to give them access to accomplish a goal. So the idea is they're not doing 500 things.
I
They're
love
doing
that.
one thing for 90
One
days with
thing
dedicated support.
with
And
dedicated
it's
support.
like the data that has come off of that and the movement that has come off of that. We've had job creation, we've had capital access, we've had all kinds of like customer acquisitions and brand upgrades and just crazy cool stuff that you actually don't see that data out of traditional accelerator models. It's kind of cool. So as you continue to run that program, I'll be super excited to see the progress that your founders are making and understand
Yeah,
like what are their pain points, what are we solving for,
yeah,
because you're right, they need that level of support, and the
yeah.
founders that we work to focus on serve, same as you, don't always have that in their natural ecosystem.
Yep, yep,
And they
yep.
don't know they're supposed to, so they don't
Yeah,
go seek it, and so you
yeah.
have to bring it to them and show them the value of having it. Is
Yeah, no,
the
that's a great. That's great. I love that success sprint, and that's exactly what it was. I was like, I did not want to give founders something else to do. I was like, I'm not going to give them another program. I'm not going to give them something else to do. No, we're going to take them through 6 weeks so they understand the roles of each one of these fractional executives. And what we found initially was, Bonnie, like some of them came in thinking they knew.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
need
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
need a CFO, I need the
Uh-huh.
CMO for marketing, I need this one. And so at the end, when we did the surveys, we found so many of them had changed because they better understood the
Yeah.
roles
Yeah.
of each in relationship to their business. And they were like, oh, okay, this is probably, some of them were like, even though they were like, folks want to do the fun stuff. You need a CFO. You really know that you need somebody to help you with these financials. You know?
Yeah. Well, and I think helping them understand like what can you expect from a CFO. I think
Yes,
I love that piece of that logic model for you, is
yes,
because so many first time founders that we meet and get to work with and get to support, they just don't know. So when they do finally get the funding, they do access the capital, they make enough sales, they get the revenue happening, and they get to a place where they can hire somebody. They're hiring the wrong people because they don't know what they're meant to expect out of that role.
yeah.
And so I love that you're bridging that gap of I've never done this before. How do I do this? Like without taking on the risk of bringing in somebody that's a $200,000 a year role. Like
Right.
that's not something that most early stage businesses can even really stomach.
Yeah.
So if you're paying for it, you better be getting the value.
You better be getting the value. And then if you don't know what that value is or how to measure it,
Yes.
then you're really, you really have bitten off more than you can chew, and it's just not going to work. And so that has been, we just finished our first cohort of that. Now they're matched with their fractional for 90 days. so so now let's see what, with their goals, and we'll continue to support them on the coaching side, with some executive level coaching as well while they're working with their fractional. And I can't wait to see what comes out of the results of those matches.
No, I love it because my aha moment is I was sitting at an event, and it was a lot of bros, I'll be honest. Like it was a lot of tech bros, and they were talking about like, because they were building like private equity firms, like that kind of stuff, and they were talking about how it's so hard to do this, and to I'm sure it is, not to discount that it is, but they were also
Right.
talking about who they brought in to help them as they were figuring it out, and it was all people that were, because of who they were and who I was sitting in the room listening to, it was all people that were in their ecosystem.
Right.
And it was like, oh, I brought in my friend Josh, he's a CMO, blah blah blah. I brought in my friend Jack, and I thought that's the piece that is absolutely missing from the founders like me, like the other ones that we get to serve. I don't have those humans in my world. I don't have my friend Jack to call up. Like, I don't have anybody to ask these questions to. And
Yeah.
if I do call up Jack, Jack is crazy expensive and I can't afford him.
Right.
So I had this aha moment of like, okay, that's the piece that we're missing with the founders that we're serving and that I've always been missing in my own building of things. Is like, I didn't have that network of people. to just call them up and be like, hey, what do you think I should do here? So how can we bridge that gap? I love that that's how you're looking at it as well, is
Yeah.
how can we bridge that gap? How can we bring that together? So let's shift gears for a second and talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. We have we have had we'll call it wonky year for funding. Lots of things have shifted. All sorts of things have been happening that are changing how programs are funded. Tell me where you're at, what you're thinking, what you're experiencing.
Well, I think it's unfortunate. I'm saddened because so many of my colleagues have been so deeply impacted. And you and I talked earlier. I know the folks that where we met at Make Startups, for example, we already know that how they've been impacted. I've heard from several of my colleagues at the Black Innovation Alliance that have equally been impacted. And then not even just that, but like we have a share food program here that feed, like I just don't know how not feeding poor people is makes sense to anybody to get rid of money towards that. I just in my mind I just can't wrap my head around some of those things. But I think one thing I know for sure, Holly, is as entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial support organizations, I know for a fact we are resilient.
This is very true.
And we have continued to find ways to support our entrepreneurs. If that meant, cutting back, if that meant, reducing program hours or whatever it was, and the same thing for the entrepreneurs, right? Whatever shifts they've had to make with the threat of tariffs, because I don't believe any of the threats have come to pass as of yet. There's been a lot of threats of tariffs, but one week we got to deal with China, one week we don't. All that uncertainty impacts the way you run your business.
Yes. Well, and somebody said it at the GEC conference that we were listening to a thing, and somebody stood up and said, fear is not a growth mindset. And so until we can get to a place where we're not all feeling all of this tumult and fear and scaredness, we can't get to a place where we're ready to move beyond it and create solutions,
Yes.
because it keeps recycling.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been challenging. Well, again, our organization has not been personally impacted because of the sources of funding that we have, but at the same time, it has, again, watching my colleagues, we've lost, right now I sent a letter to our United States Senator Dave McCormick about the threats to SCORE. I mean, SCORE has been around forever. I am a product of SCORE. I have been an instructor for SCORE. I have been a mentor for SCORE. And so the threat of funding to an organization like SCORE is very disheartening to me, and I've made that known to our senator. Oh,
Well, I'm very confused by the sort of, I don't know whether it's just a knowledge gap or a lack of understanding, or I really don't even know what to call it yet. But there is this sort of unawareness that all of these things are economic development. All of these things
yes,
are jobs locally and
yes.
building things locally. So why is that what we're thinking about defunding? It's like the things just don't compute in my brain. I, like I'm like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. We say we want to bring jobs locally, but then you take away the toolkits to be able to help people do that. Like these things are not making sense. They're not congruent.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, you have no other. At least I have no other. I'll speak for Tanya. I have no other posture than to think that it has everything to do with the erasure and elimination of supports that grow and build wealth for people of color and the poor. And I say it all the time. I just don't understand how anybody poor or of color could have voted for this current administration. I will down the hill with that. I don't know what you were thinking, or stayed home and didn't vote at all. I don't know what you were thinking. That's the only conclusion I can come to. Like I said, same thing with the share program. How does not feeding poor people make sense to you?
Yeah, it just no. I tend to agree with you. These things are just incongruent. They don't make sense, and
It just don't make sense, you
they
know.
they just don't make sense. So
So I think it,
I learned a really cool term, and I feel like it's probably how you're doing what you're doing. I learned it from
yeah,
Faye Horwit, and it's called braided funding.
yes,
And
yes,
I'd never heard that, and I was like, oh my God, I want to use that every day of my life from now on because it's brilliant. Like,
yes, braided funding. So at Forward Cities, they are the program. They put together the trust program at Black Innovation Alliance, of which I'm a member. We got funding as a part of that, as well as the instruction. They actually taught our class this morning on design, and so she's been talking about the braided funding. She's brilliant. I don't have any other word to describe her when it comes to this world of ecosystems that we're in. She's just
be doing
brilliant.
what I'm doing if I had not met Faye. Like, it is that simple
Wow.
for me. Like, I
Yeah.
took that role with the CDFI in the very beginning, and she was
Yeah.
running an ecosystem building thing for our local ecosystem.
Uh
And
huh.
I met her, and I was like, what you're doing matters. I want to do what you're doing.
I want to do what you're doing. Yeah.
I want to be in
Yeah.
this game with you. And that was
Yes.
5 years ago. And I haven't
Yes.
ever looked back. So she is like a catalyst human in my life. When I met
Yes.
her, I was like, that's the human I want to be.
That's it. I love that. That's the same way I feel about Omi. When I look at what she's done with Black Girl Ventures, I'm like, that's it. That's it. I told her she recently relocated, and I was like, "How you gonna go all the way to California and leave me here? Like, I don't like to fly. Number one, like, man, I can't. When you was in DC, I could hop on a train and follow you around like a little puppy dog.
No, I get it. I get it. And it makes me feel silly, but it's like when I grow up, that's the person I want to be.
It would have been, yes. So yeah, that braided funding, and we're learning a lot of that in the trust program. We're learning about this braided funding model. Had some amazing. I mean, Faye again. She's just brilliant to me. She put together an amazing program. We've had amazing speakers. I'm already ready to go back and look at her deck from this morning. I need to watch it again. I need to listen to it again. It's already challenging how we put together, fractional. We have another program that's our on ramp program, which is called Ramp Up. It's already challenging the way that we're looking at that and evaluating that, and actually starting with. And this is one thing that she said. And I talked about this from the standpoint of our co-working space, is actually going to your people first and asking them, what do they want? What do they
Yes,
need?
more of that.
More of that. More
We've
of
been doing
that.
these really cool programs where we parachute into a geography, and we're calling it founders and feedback, and it's basically like we're going into the room as third party, like nobody knows us, we're not a local ESO, we don't hold any purse strings, which is really the thing.
Yeah.
And we're doing exactly that on behalf of the ecosystem, and we're having conversations with business owners that have been part of programs that have been running within the geography that we're touching, so that we can go back to the ESOs and say, here's what you're missing, here's what they're saying is not being done well. And it's really cool because they're willing to have those conversations with us because we don't control anything. Like,
Right.
we
Right.
don't issue funding, we don't run their programs,
Right.
we don't,
Right.
so
Right.
we
Right.
can host it and then bring the knowledge back to the ecosystem of ESOs and say, hey, here's where you're succeeding and here's where you're failing, because you have to ask. You can't
Yeah.
just assume, and you can't do
Yeah.
it in a survey. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's very true. No, that's good stuff.
Yeah, so tell me, like, the braided funding thing, I feel like that's something that everybody needs to be understanding more deeply. Tell me where you guys are at on that, because I feel like you've done a really good job of keeping your funding pools diverse and mixed so that you can
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that we're learning in the trust program, I mean, there's been one area that I would like to see us increase, and it's kind of hard to do. I mean, Philadelphia remains the poorest big city. We have a population of 47% African American, less than 2% of those are small businesses. And so when you look at those numbers, having fee for service programs is a bit of a challenge for us. And so I would like to do more. I would like to do more of that. And actually listening and during the presentation today, I was just like, I really think that we should maybe charge an enrollment fee for fractional, something minimal just to get the buy-in, those kinds of things. You're getting expert level, folks that charge, and I looked at some of the fees from the data when we did the surveys, folks that charge up to, one girl, the chief people officer, $1,200 an hour, like $1,200 an hour. This girl works with Google and everything. Y'all getting her stuff for free. So that's the one thing, the fee for service. Maybe making some investments in some small syndicates as well. Some property, doing some profit sharing. So there's some things that we're working on. I have the gentleman that runs our fractional program, actually going to transition him into a chief strategy officer because he's been an angel investor. He's run programs, he's worked for Nike and done some other things, and he's got some good stuff. I just got to raise the money to pay him.
Well,
the fun part.
That's every founder's hustle. Is I found the human I want. Now, how do I pay for the human that I desperately want to be part of my organization?
Found the human I want. Now, how do I pay him?
We have somebody on our team that I absolutely love. Her name is Alexis, and I kept tabs and kind of courted Alexis for 2 years until I could afford to bring her on, because I was like, I want you. I need you. But I can't pay you yet, so hold on.
That's exactly how I feel about Devon. I feel the same way. The first conversation we had, a colleague of ours was like, they introduced us. I was on the board for Oregon Rain. I've never been to Portland, just so that we put that on the record. Somehow I ended up on the board. And he wanted to come.
Your network is your network, right?
I don't know, he wanted to come back east. He's originally from Brooklyn, New York. Caroline told him, you should meet Tanya. Think about Philly. First time we ever met on the Zoom, I said, man, I need you to come run this fractional program. I ain't pulled. That's what I need you to do. Like when you come.
I feel that like in my soul, because I'm like you. What can I do? How can I beg you?
Okay, how do we get you here? Well, just tell me how that needs to happen. So he's here now, and he's doing a phenomenal job, and I'm grateful. Like, I'm really grateful.
Well, that's amazing. I feel like the building ESO support teams is like this weird web of humans, and the only real juncture between everybody is we're all mission aligned. Like we all see the problem, we all want to serve the problem and solve the problem. That's really the only commonality, because as I get to have these conversations and so many others, like this is such a diverse swath of beings that do this work, that come from so many different backgrounds and so many different places. Like I always think it's really cool to understand like who's cobbling together an ESO organization.
Yes.
Because it's everybody that's in it is here because of mission.
That's it.
It makes dinner parties really fun, because then everybody like we all view the world through the same lens, so it's really exciting. We can like riff off of each other, and that's.
Like I told you earlier, I can't wait to get to Augusta and be with my people.
No, I get it. I had a similar moment of like, oh my God, these are my people. I've been looking for you my whole life.
Can't wait. Can't wait to get to Augusta and be with my people. Yes.
I love it. So I want to ask you a question that's just because I think a lot of the funding channels are shifting, and we're seeing a lot more work with economic development offices and different city municipalities and things. What do you feel like is the real impact that ESOs are having on the local economies that they're serving? That's a space that I don't know, we've been talking about for the last 5 years.
Yeah, no, I think the impact is, I'm trying to find the right word. It's substantial. Now, how about that? It is a substantial impact. And so that's why when I talk about taking away funding from SCORE and SBA funding, and like you said, these things you say, you want to create, more businesses here that are running our country,
Yeah.
and then you withdrawing money from organizations that are strengthening these businesses. It just doesn't, 1+1 does not equal two on that account. The impact is phenomenal. I was looking at our impact report. I was doing our impact report, and I'm like, let me call the CDFI that we partnered with to find out how many of our folks we sent through a program that they do called Build for Success. And they get a 0% interest loan.
Yeah.
And then a forgivable loan. They get a forgivable loan, and then they can get larger amounts of funding. So when he gave me the number back, I said, what? It was $214,000
That's
that those businesses were able to access to create product, to create jobs. One girl now, she's not cooking in her home; she's now cooking
Yes.
in a common circuit. All of those things. So now she's ready to go into a supermarket and get on the shelf. Like, that's real impact, right? And that's just here in my little portion. That's just me working with the Neighborhood Progress Fund. That's not Vested in or Entrepreneur Works or some of these other programs here in Philadelphia, that WRC that do similar work. That's just me. And working with us. So can you just imagine, what those larger numbers really look like?
For sure. No, I do feel like that's kind of a place that we've been missing as a field of service and that's a piece we're trying to help support, understanding how to do a better job of it. Is like measurement and evaluation.
Yes.
And all of these things. Like, that's something that we do as a service. So we get to kind of have those conversations with organizations that we're serving. And it's really interesting. Like, and I always think, like, my passion story is like, when I first started doing this, I had this woman that I was working with, and everybody locally knew her as the banana pudding lady. And she sold banana pudding out the back of her car. She would roll up to a gas station, and she would call people, and they would come out and buy this banana pudding. And when I met her, I was like, and this is like all my background prior to doing this is all food service. I've owned restaurants and catering companies, that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, we got to fix this, because eventually, because they're all paying her cash, eventually some kid's going to do something stupid. She's going to get robbed. I mean, something crazy bad is going to happen. So it's like, okay, first step, get her off the street, doing it this way, get her to somewhere where she's selling it in a better way. But it took 3 years. It took 3 years to get this amazing being that, by all means, I mean, she was working so hard.
Yeah.
To get her to a place where, like, now she sells wholesale into restaurants, and like she actually but a lot of it was just she didn't know, because she'd never done it before, how to take this skill set that she had, and her audience was telling her, back to that, like, it's all about the money. Like, if your audience is willing to pay you money, it means you've landed on something that has product market fit. But she didn't know how to take that from sort of MVP, for to use the fancy terms, and to a thing where she could sell it commercially viably, and she was going to get shut down by the health department. It took 3 years, and it took lots of capital investment, and none of it in big quantities. I mean, some of the things that we got to be part of that she was awarded were like $1,500, $2,000. None of it was big, but it was money that she didn't have, and she didn't have access to because of her background. And so by the time we got to that 3 years later and she's doing it, but what if there hadn't been all these partners in play that were helping her get from here to there? Like, and she's always my, like, I love her story because it's so tangible, and like everybody knows a banana pudding lady, honestly. We all know somebody that does that.
Yes, we all got a banana pudding lady. Mine's is Nasira Bakes. That's my banana pudding lady. Same thing. Had been in business for 10 years, wasn't really going nowhere till she connected with us. Now she's in one of the local supermarkets, and that took 3 years. So yeah.
It's not overnight work, and I feel like that's the piece of the braided capital conversation and the local economy question, is like, are we building in enough runway to actually make impact? Because you see all these programs that, somebody gets jazzy and they write a check to run a program for 6 months. Well, that's great. What about the rest of what's needed? So how do we build these intentional processes and plans strategically to braid the pieces together and create a model where we can get somebody from MVP all the way into full scale process. I think it's just something that we miss a lot,
Yeah,
honestly,
no,
as
it's true.
organizations, because we're all in the hustle. Like every organization we partner with, they're in the hustle. Got to
Yeah,
get the funding happening. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah. I got a grant application I started today, sitting there right now that I got to get back to. Right?
I feel that. I feel that. We partner on a lot of those things where we're written underneath them. So I absolutely get that. Well, and I do. We're seeing more and more economic development understanding the role that the organizations are playing, and we're seeing more support and funding from that side of the world. Which historically that's not necessarily what they've been focused on, because they're manufacturing large scale companies, that's what they're designed to bring to the cities. But we're seeing a lot more support from that space, which I think is really, really exciting, honestly.
It's awesome.
And there's this whole movement for an entrepreneurship led economic development, which is kind of a new field that's
Yes,
building itself as we speak, but
needed, much needed.
so much needed. So as we wrap up a little bit here, what are some of the things that you feel like you've learned the hard way doing what you do, that that maybe we can prevent somebody else that's launching an ESO in another geography, they don't do the same thing?
Well, one thing I will say is the lesson that I learned from the brilliant Faye Horowitz is to ask your entrepreneurs what they want and what they need before you roll out a program.
Yes.
You got to ask them what they want, what they need, how can you help before you roll out a program. And so, like I'm looking at now, making some changes to our ramp up program. I know we need an on ramp program, but and one thing Faye said today when we were talking about this was that, don't be afraid to say, you know what, this isn't working, and shut it down.
Yes. Yes. Well, which is it's funny because that's actually what we teach founders, right? Is fail fast. Like,
Yeah.
test a product
Yep.
on the market, see if
Test
it's
the pro-
working,
yep.
hug it
Yep.
back. Like
That's it. That's it. And we all go through these pilot phases with these programs, right? And
Absolutely.
so we can save ourselves a lot more heartache. In the test phase, we ask the entrepreneur, is this working? Is this helping you?
I love that because we actually had an opportunity recently with a program we were supporting that they let us run a pilot program with only 5 entrepreneurs in it. So instead of doing like a full scale launch, we did like a micro launch. And before they dumped the bucket of funding into it that was promised, and what we yielded from running it with only 5 entrepreneurs changed what we were doing, because what we thought was going to work with the specific audience we were trying to serve, it just wasn't landing.
Yeah.
And so I think
Yeah.
I echo that, and I was like, do
Yeah.
more small scale pilots and
Yep.
listen to your audience, ask them what they want, bring them in, get feedback, have conversations, but
Yeah.
stop just making assumptions, and for
Yep.
God's sake, stop sending out surveys.
And what's so interesting is with the pilot piece, Holly, and starting smaller and we just saw this with our fractional program because we started with a smaller pilot. We've already exceeded the goals for the funder with one cohort already done.
Yes.
So the next cohort is just going to exceed. There would be, unless they just flat out say no, there would be no reason for them not to give us more money to do it again.
No, I love that, and it's like it's building on its own success. And
That's it.
every time you run a program, you learn minutia. There are small scale things that they're not crucial, but they're small scale things that would improve it. Or there's a piece of
Right.
communication missing, or
Right.
there's all
Right.
these things that
Yeah.
you learn, and they're minutia, and you only learn them by doing. So if you only do one large scale launch of a program, all the learnings go in the waste bin. It's not really a thing.
Yep. Yep.
Well, Well, I deeply appreciate you joining me today for this conversation. I feel like we're singing each other's songs and echoing each other a lot, but I feel like that happens in our space. So.
Yes. No, this was good. This is good.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Today.
It has been my pleasure.
Absolutely. That's the goal. Is I want our conversations that are so critical and crucial to how we build and what we build to be more public, because we're all having them like one-on-one in private conversation, and it's not the community learning isn't happening. So
not nearly enough.
Not nearly enough.
Thanks for joining me on All Things Equal. If today's conversation resonated with your experience as an ESO, please subscribe and share it with your team, your friends, your colleagues. Equal, the BSO for ESOs, exists to evolve how entrepreneurship support is designed and delivered. If you're looking for support, resources, or just a community that gets it, please connect with us. We're here to help the helpers. Let's keep building the backbone of entrepreneurship by supercharging the organizations that make it all possible.